We here on Locked on Lightning have absolutely zero idea who's going to make the final Lightning roster. And you know what? That is an amazing thing. We'll explain why on today's show.
You're Locked on Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked on Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we want to begin by giving a shout out to our everydayers, those of you who tune into every single show, every single day. We love you. We appreciate you week in and week out for all the support you give us. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the Tom Holland to my Zendaya, Greg Stephen. Greg, welcome in, buddy.
Good morning. Good morning. Had a little Orlando matchup with the Cats last night, so we'll talk about that. It's going to be pretty fun. And then we have our divisional final thoughts.
Yeah, a good win in Orlando last night. A little Orlando magic, if you will.
Well played.
Thank you for the pity laugh. I appreciate the support you gave me, Greg. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Greg, as we mentioned, we have the end of our division previews. We are going to be doing some player superlatives, I guess, and some team superlatives. Player that's going to surprise everybody this year. And our official division predictions, lock it in. These are the official picks we're going with for this season, so write that down. But first, we are going to talk about last night's game in Orlando. 3-2 preseason win over the Florida Panthers. Interesting that nobody really played a tier roster, I guess you would say. We played Morgan Geekie, we played Oliver Bjorkstrand and Lilberg, and that was kind of the extent of our everyday players. Florida, I'm looking and trying to figure out, but they didn't really play anybody at all. But
yeah, none.
Hey, either way, 3-2 preseason win. Lightning dominated the shots and everything like that. Greg, anything that stood out to you in last night's game?
A couple things. I think the first is that JoJo got a win. And we love that, right? I mean, everyone rags on JoJo because, he's a backup that plays so few games. It's a very difficult job, as we've discussed. So love to see him get a W before the season actually begins, kind of get some confidence going. Other than that, look, I mean, we just watched a bunch of the guys like we were talking about fight for spots. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that given we only played, as you mentioned, like Bjorkstrand, Radish, and Gage and Geekie, I think those were the main guys we had out there. Each one of them had a point. And that's what you want to see when you put them up against, a roster that is on paper weaker. So you want to see them shine. You want to see them play their role. And I think they did that. So those are the two biggest things for me.
I love that after every single preseason game, there's been one or two guys that have kind of been waiting in the wings that have been like, you know what? That player's had a really good camp and a really good preseason. That's going to, they're going to make a fight for a roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking about Jacob Peltier had a really good game last night. We've talked about our boy Wojciech Tkowiak at one point, who none of us really even knew who he was before camp started. Winds up having a pretty impressive camp, pretty impressive preseason game last night. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Jack Finley looking impressive at some point. And then last night, Boris Kachuk, our guy, our former second-round pick from a couple years ago. He winds up having a really good night last night wearing the A. Yeah. And so, Greg, the fact that this roster breakdown when John Cooper finally trims to, the final roster going into regular season, the fact that you look at so many guys and go like, oh, I'm going to be disappointed if he doesn't make the team. That's a great sign for how well everybody has done in camp.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly think the Lightning have impressed any hockey fan this preseason. I mean, they're undefeated. You've seen production from just a plethora of people, right? And then on top of that, all these games, as we keep talking about, they're getting feisty.
Yeah.
We kind of knew with the Cats and the Lightning that was bound to happen, but look, there's a fight. There's a bunch of boarding penalties. Lightning had 5 power plays, so geez, let's keep that rolling. I love the energy that they're bringing to all these games. Let's hope that transitions right into the 82 that we're about to play.
Yeah, you wanted it against the Panthers. Like that's what we said the other night.
Right.
Yeah. Dominic James was another one that I don't think it was this last game, but a couple games ago, I think he really stood out to me. He's as a feisty fellow. I think he'd be, of all people, somebody in the AHL. The other person I want to shout out is Morgan Geekie. Obviously, big play jumping on the loose puck, getting that unassisted goal yesterday to put the Lightning up 2-1. Last time they ever was tied in the game. Morgan Geekie to me has looked like he's ready to take that big next step forward. And that's kind of what the Panthers or what the Lightning were waiting for, right? Is they were kind of ready for, we talked about Gage being sort of the next man up since he's been on the second line. But we talked about Morgan Geekie, who played most of last year as a 20-year-old, maybe being in line to sort of elevate his game, be that next big offensive star to kind of come through the Lightning system. And I think he's shown tools of it. And since it's preseason, the points totals don't matter as much. But I think just in the way he plays, his nose for the puck, I think he's been a little bit more engaged physically, willing to, go in and really win those puck battles. And his fundamentals, like the skating, the positioning, I think have been there in the games that we've seen him. I think he's looked good in camp drills so far. So Morgan Geekie has lived up to me, Greg, as maybe that guy ready for a breakthrough here.
Definitely. And we watched him last season and he looked excellent. And I know that they ended up sending him back down for a bit of I think it was like the latter half of the season, but he's got all the NHL games under his belt at this point, so he's not coming in cold or fresh to the NHL. And I feel like he's proved that he deserves a spot. I mean, he's looked good in preseason, right? I mean, There's no reason not to run it back with him and have him play. But like we've been talking about, a lot of guys stepping up here. I mean, Pelletier scores last night too. Lilleberg assists. Love that too. We want to see Lilleberg get some points this season. And power play gets a goal. So all looks good to me on paper. I'm ready.
I think good for Max Crozier on the back end too. That's a guy that you always have been shouting out as somebody you think ready might have a big breakout year. Yeah, there's so many of these good players coming up, and look, we're going to be disappointed in at least a couple of them not making the team. But like I said, the fact that there's this many people you can choose from to fill in some of the roster holes, to be the extra forward, to be the guy that replaces Nick Paul in the lineup until he's back for injury, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
I will take that over the alternative of who's the stopgap that we can hope doesn't screw up for a couple of games. I'd rather have our choice of people who are hungry for spots and have proven that they can handle it.
Yeah. I mean, this conversation would be much different if we had been losing a lot of these games. None of these names we think are going to do something, do nothing. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, not only is it more exciting, but, we feel confident with the team going into this. And with, like you said, with Nick Paul out, you need guys. And it's comforting knowing that if someone maybe does slump, you got so many guys waiting and that are probably ready to go at this point. So, I'm feeling really good about this season so far.
Although, I don't know, I will say during my experience on Locked on Preds, when the team sucks and everybody hates all the players, your ratings usually go up. So, hey, hopefully here in Tampa, you guys love positivity because we want some positive things to talk about this season.
Me too.
Hey, speaking of positivity, who is the most underrated team in the Atlantic Division? Who's a team or player that you think is going to have a big year and surprise people? That's part of our division superlatives. It's part of our Atlantic Division preview wrap up. And we're going to talk about that coming up in just 1 second. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, so if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. We are back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, we are wrapping up our Atlantic Division preview series. We're going to get to our official predictions, the teams that we think are going to make the postseason, the teams that we think are going to be the top three in the division. But first, we want to have a little bit of fun with this. So we want to do a little bit of Atlantic Division superlatives. And for all of these, Greg, I am saying that you can pick somebody on the Lightning if you want.
Okay.
All right. So first one, player in the Atlantic Division you're most excited to watch this year.
For me, it's Max Crozier. I think he has an opportunity here to make a name for himself and solidify himself into the Lightning lineup. And if he does that, the Lightning are going to be leagues better than I think some of the people, for example, NHL.com writers, are giving them.
I was not expecting a Max Crozier pick here.
Let's go.
All the young talent in the division, and that's who we go with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm with you. Like, I'm ready to see Max Crozier. And I think
the thing is, if I wasn't confined to the division, I think it would be someone else. But because it's the Atlantic, it's Crozier every time.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna go Ivan Demidov for the Montreal Canadiens. I just love everything about his game. I love the way he skates. I love his nose for the puck. You know, I think he gives. I think maybe like prime Evgeny Kuznetsov to kind of use a Russian on Russian comparison a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say there's a little bit of, if we're keeping the Russian comparisons going, a little bit of Nikita Kucherov to his game as well. This is a player that I think has all the tools to be an absolute stud in the NHL. So I'm excited to see what he can do in Montreal this year. It's barring something weird in camp. He's going to be on the first team. This is going to be his first full NHL season. And I would say pretty healthy pick for rookie of the year this year.
That's very valid. I think that's, I love him, actually. I remember starting to watch him at the end of last year, and I was like, this is going to be bad soon for us.
Yeah. Montreal, all of those young talent waiting in the wings up there. The Habs are going to be an absolute juggernaut in a couple of years if they can all develop them, right?
Yes.
We've also seen some teams loaded with talent. Looking at you, Buffalo Sabres, who've just not been able to get everything together. But I love what Montreal is doing. I think Demidov is the face of that. Okay, Greg, next superlative question. Team you think will surprise people this year? In in a good way. In a good way. Let me preface that.
It's the Canadians, right? I don't think there's another answer personally. I don't see the Red Wings or the Senators being significantly better or worse. Bruins are going to be worse. And the three juggernauts of the division, the Cats, the Lightning, and the Leafs, even with the injuries and all the trades, to me, they're the top three. But the Canadians, they could sneak in up a little higher, maybe. Well, who knows? It depends how things go, but they could potentially be second in this division or third.
Okay.
I will say, before I commit to that, two NHL.com writers had the Habs finishing first in this division. I think they should both lose their jobs because there's absolutely there's just no way. Can we be real here? I can't. I read that and I was going to lose my mind. I swear.
I don't think they're going to finish ahead of Tampa Bay, barring injuries. I don't know. I mean, first off, I'm not going to roll heads at NHL.com over any of this, but I love your gumption. I love the spirit. You're a guy that would have my back if I needed you to fire somebody somewhere for me.
I want them gone.
Yeah, want them gone. Screw you and your Habs optimism, NHL.com. No, I mean, I could see Montreal being in the top three, and especially with the Alexander Barkov news, you could make an argument they're top two if everything goes right and everybody develops linear and nobody takes a big step back. In Montembeault is as solid in goal as he has been. You can make that. You can make a top two case. I don't think they'll win the division. I think maybe next year they're division titles, but they could do like that New Jersey Devils thing a couple of years ago where they just ran ramp shot randomly and got, I think they wound up with the number one seed in the Metro, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, they were up there, as far as I can know. No, I think for me, the team that's going to surprise people is the Detroit Red Wings. I think just a lot of people sleeping on them. And even you said, this doesn't seem like a team that's going to take a big step forward. But there's a lot of young players on that team that I think are going to be really good NHL players. I think Lucas Raymond, that's a name I think more people are going to hear about this year. We talked about Mo Seider being, a really good up and coming defenseman. And now they have more talent. Marco Kasper, former first round pick, had his rookie year last year. Looked pretty solid at times, not jump off the page stats wise, but got to keep in mind he was doing all that as a 20-year-old. So he's definitely somebody that's going to be ready to take a new step forward this year. I think you're going to see a lot more out of Simon Edvinsson, who was at one point maybe the best defensive prospect in the NHL. Axel Sandin Pellikka may make his debut this year. That's another guy that I think you're going to kind of remember that name. Really good puck moving defenseman. You also have guys like Nate Danielson who are ready to go. A lot of young talent on that Red Wings team. Plus, you're still getting some good play out of guys like Alex DeBrincat and Dylan Larkin. Patrick Kane is still there, and in the right situations.
How about Patty Kane?
Yeah, and in the right situations, Patty Kane is still useful. So I think there's more there in Detroit than meets the eye. I think they have been a wild card worthy team the past couple of years that have been derailed by goaltending, derailed by, a couple of bad games here and there. If they can get it together, I think they're a surprise team.
Yeah, it's puzzling how they haven't added like a solid goaltender. It's almost as puzzling as the Oilers.
Yeah, well, I mean, John Gibson this year. We'll see if that's the answer. It might be. He might be past his prime, but Stevie Y has been trying. He's been trying.
You can try all you want.
Yeah, his trying worked out fine here. Okay, and last superlative before we get into our official predictions. A team you think is going to disappoint this year?
The Bruins.
Can they get any lower?
Yeah. They're going last.
Going over Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe this is Buffalo's year to take one step up in the division.
The banner is raised in Buffalo, not last. Finally beat the Bruins.
Yeah. That's just how I see it right now.
Yeah, I don't. Boston's such a weird team. I almost had them as my surprise people pick because I still think if you've got David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy and Jeremy Swayman stop swimming in his swimming pool full of money and actually tries goaltending for a while. I think the tools for the Bruins to be a lot better than I think people are predicting to be are there. But it's also like you look at this roster and it's like, I don't remember the last time the Bruins have entered a regular season with this shallow of a roster.
Yeah, I mean, look, Swayman was so mid last season, and McAvoy was seriously injured at Four Nations. Pasta's a god, but look, one guy in hockey isn't enough. So we'll see.
Yeah. I am forget everything that I said about the Montreal Canadiens about 3 minutes ago. I think they're my team that's going to disappoint some people. Because you know how I said that I could see them as a top 2 team if everything goes right and everybody's progression is linear. Be honest, Greg, how often have you seen that in the NHL? Just
Never.
everybody takes exactly the step forward that they need to at the exact same time.
It's not happening. You're right. And this is why I called for the firings, because look, how on earth do you think the Canadiens are going to outrank the Lightning, the Cats, or the Leafs? There's just no way, man. There's no way.
I can't trust anybody in the NHL reporting sphere that doesn't know about the sophomore slump.
So true.
To me, it's not even about like, oh, sophomore slump or anything like that. I think you look at what the Canadiens did last year. I stand by everything I said about the Canadiens being team loaded with talent.
Yes.
A team that, 3 years from now is going to be one of the best teams in the NHL. Yes. But it's also not going to be a straight line. There's going to be growing pains. Ivan Demidov, I'm excited to watch him. He's going to have a really good rookie year. He's also a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes.
Yes.
Lane Hudson last year, really good defenseman, burst onto the scene. It's hard to do that 2 years in a row as a really young player. There have a lot of really talented players on this roster. For me, I think a lot of people are looking at that and being like, this is the year Montreal competes. Like your friends at NHL.com, like they're like, this is the year that Montreal is going to jump up, take that big step forward and be the big team this year. I just don't think that happens in this version of the NHL. There's going to be some growing pains. There's still a lot of holes on that Montreal roster. The young players are going to be fun to watch. I just don't think they're going to be contending for a division like everybody says they are.
I agree. It's just like they're not the Sharks, but and like you said, they're trending positively. I actually enjoy watching the team.
Yeah.
I just think it's foolish to think that, 3 of the best teams in the NHL are all of a sudden just going to fold and let them take a spot. I don't see that happening. And to be fair, the 2 guys that I'm bashing on NHL.com, their point was that the Cats are really injured, that the Vasi is in question and and Marner's gone. But look, that's not enough. And like you said, it'd have to be the perfect storm for them to really, really take even the second slot, in my opinion. So to have them at first, come on.
And Vasi was back yesterday, so
right.
That's a little bit of a moot point.
Look, if it was JoJo, they were still going to lose. So anyway.
Yeah, there we go. Let's take that, NHL.com.
Yeah.
All right, so there's our superlatives. It's time now to put our money where our mouth is, Greg. Official division predictions. Who's making the playoffs? Who's finishing dead last? We'll make them when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, it's finally here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is awesome because it gives you so many ways to play. I've built parlays. I've done player props. My favorite thing to do, jump into the action live during games with the live lines with some live bets. It makes football even more exciting to watch when you have a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or just love following the guys on your fantasy team, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today. We're back here on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here with Greg, Steven, and Greg. It's time, man. We're inking this in. We're doing your favorite thing to do, which is taking the arm and tattooing these predictions down.
Let's go.
It's division prediction time. Okay, let's start off. Let's do this little chunks at a time. Give me your top three.
Okay, I got to take my time with this.
Good.
All right. Might be biased.
You locked in?
I'm locked in.
Okay, let's go.
Tampa Bay Lightning are taking number one.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree.
The Leafs take number two. And I don't think anyone will be close to either of those teams. Now, we come to number three. And this is where I think it gets a little tricky because the Cats are not looking so healthy right now.
Are you going to do it?
Am I going to put the Habs there? Is that what you're asking me?
That's not the team I was thinking of, but...
No, I'm putting the Senators there.
We have the same top three.
Wow. In the same order?
In the same order.
Wow. I love that.
I'm with you 100%. I had the Florida Panthers number one in the division until the Barkov injury.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be a case of last year because remember Florida for a long time when Kachuk got hurt late in the year. I think they also had a couple other injuries. I think Barkov even at one point missed some time. And you could just tell it was one of those, where they're like, you know what, let's just get to the playoffs. Now, once they're in the playoffs, all bets are off.
Scary. Yep.
But I'm with you. I had Tampa because I just think on paper they're the deepest team right now.
Yep.
That's not bias. I just think that's how it is. I have Toronto 2. And I have Ottawa 3. Playoff teams. I still have Florida as a playoff team, obviously.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they're right sort of on the edge with the Ottawa Senators. So I had Florida as the playoff team. In the other playoff team, that's right. I'm picking 2 from the Atlantic again. I'm going to do it, Greg. I'm going to do Detroit Red Wings 5th.
Wow.
I'm going to say this is the year they do it. I think they're the bottom team. I think they're the last team in. I think they're the team that gets in the skin of their teeth, but I'm predicting it. I think after all the work they've done over there, all the young players they've brought in, the mix of veterans, and I think John Gibson's going to be just good enough. There we go. Those are my 5 playoff teams. The Detroit Red Wings make it. All right. Is that a nod of okay, or are you going to call for me to get fired from Locked On Podcast?
No, that's a to each his own. That's not an unreasonable selection.
Okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I'm putting the Habs there though.
Okay. Do you think the Habs are making the playoffs?
I do.
Okay. So you
I
have
just
Florida
don't think they're
and
better
then
than the
Montreal.
Lightning or the Leafs or the Cats. That's all.
Okay.
And kind of going back a little bit, but I kind of think they're better than the Senators. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think it really depends on Brady to Chuck because he is also a bit injury prone and he misses a lot of time, right? And he's kind of
Yeah.
like Matthew. So I think a lot of the Sens' success is going to kind of it's him and some of the other guys are Drake Batherson gets hurt sometimes too. So
Yeah.
it's health, right? I
They
think
had issues last year with health.
right. I think with health, the Senators will outrank the Canadians. I do think the Canadians have an opportunity to take the third slot, as depending on the injuries with the Cats and the Sens. I just think those three teams are kind of going to be neck and neck. And then I actually believe that the Lightning and the Leafs are going to be really close too. I could see the Leafs winning it and the Lightning being in second. So I do want to throw that out there without. I don't want anyone to think, oh, the Lightning, he's picking them way higher. I think they're actually really going to be real nice and close. Like, I think this whole division is going to be really interesting to watch. I mean, it was last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where Florida can turn things around. And we talked about them having depth to survive this. They could still win the division.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Montreal, Greg, could still win the division.
No.
Okay. Yeah. They could. I'm
to
not
me, that's like
saying, but
like
they could. I mean, hey, you put them in the playoffs 3 seconds ago.
That's fine. I don't. I think they will make the playoffs. But you really think there's a chance they end with more points than the Leafs and the Lightning? I think even if one of those teams collapses, like the other one's gonna.
I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean,
they did.
But it's like I said, it's weird because everything goes right. Everything goes right for Montreal. All those young players you talked about wind up taking that big step forward. They get the goaltending. Then yeah. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not predicting it to happen this year, but I'm just saying like the ingredients are on the table.
Yes, I think as soon as next year, I could potentially pick them for the first slot. It's just not this one. That's all.
So I had, after the playoff picks, I had Montreal right there. I'm with you. I think they're kind of on that edge. They might be the first or second team out of the playoffs this year. Like I said, I think next year is going to be the year that people take a look at them and be like, wow, this is really good. And then after that, I have the Bruins. And then I have the Sabres.
Okay.
So that's my end. So you had the Red Wings.
Yep.
As your first team out.
Yep.
I'm assuming Sabres.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming Bruins.
Yep.
All right. So that's what you're locking in. Right.
I mean, we're pretty much aligned for the most part.
We're pretty much aligned except for I had the Red Wings ahead. Okay, so let's recap here. For you, it was Tampa, Toronto, Ottawa. That's your top three. Florida's a wild card. Montreal's a wild card. And then you had Detroit, Buffalo, Boston.
Yep.
Okay, so I had Tampa Bay, Toronto, Ottawa, same top three. Playoff teams were Florida and Detroit. And then I had Montreal, Boston, Buffalo.
Yeah. So we're almost exactly aligned. Our 7 and 8s are swapped and our 4 and 5s are a little flopped.
Yeah,
but that's
we had one more last team in, like a different last team in.
Mm-hmm. But
okay.
That's good. I think that's a good sign for both of us, hopefully.
Yeah, there we go. So, and now that we've both predicted it, none of this will happen. Congratulations to the Montreal Canadiens on winning the Atlantic Division this
winning
year.
The Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they will be the Stanley Cup champions. Write that down now. Hey, we're going to have our official Stanley Cup predictions. We're going to have not full division previews, but championship picks for every team. We're also going to be doing some previews on awards. Who's our preseason Hart pick, Norris pick, all that good junk. That's coming up on our future edition of Locked on Lightning next week as we start to count down towards the regular season. Tomorrow will be 1 week away from the first regular season game against the third place Atlantic Division Ottawa Senators at the BMI.
BMI, baby.
Yeah, call Greg to get you into the BMI. off the VIP list.
Yeah.
So lots coming up on Locked On Lightning. Hey, make sure you stay with us on social media. Locked On Lightning on Instagram and TikTok, LO_Lightning on Twitter. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Back with a new episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.